So now we're going to talk about aero bars, and in particular in this video we're going to talk about clip-on aero bars for road bikes. So this is typical that people that get into triathlon, they start with a road bike, they'll do their first couple of triathlons in a road position, and then they'll put on some clip-on aero bars, and then down the track, if they're still in the sport for any period of time, and particularly when they want to go longer in their triathlons, they'll buy a time trial bike. So there's some major benefits to using aero bars in that they reduce your back angle, they reduce your frontal surface area, and you can pick up 2 or 3 kilometers an hour just by changing your position. So there's a big plus. The negative is that once you put on aero bars, it completely changes the position. It generally means that you've got to look at your saddle as well, because a traditional saddle with that rotation forward often offers pain. And aero bars is a bit of a minefield, but it should be pretty simple. Now, I'll give you an example. I had a lady come to me during the week, and she'd been sold this set of aero bars. I think they cost her about $150. And she's doing Olympic and now 70.3 distance triathlon, and she was told that these would be ideal. Now that, I'm afraid, it's bullshit. And the reason why it's bullshit is there's no movement in this aero bar whatsoever. So this clamps onto the top of our handlebars. We can't move the pads back and forth, and the extensions are just too short, and we couldn't change the length of the extensions if we wanted to. So what happens here, the rider wants to hold on to something, so they're typically going to go to the end of the bar, which puts their forearm on the pad, and that means when we're in that aerodynamic time trial position, we're going to get neck and shoulder pain. Okay, so these sort of bars are absolutely no good. What you need to look for is a bar that has a lot of adjustability. And by that I mean we want to be able to adjust the length of the extension. So ideally the elbow comes to the pad, the hand goes to the end of the extension, and you should be able to rest there. So we want to be able to lengthen and shorten this extension depending on how long your limbs are. We want to be able to clamp the bars, the aero bar extensions, onto our handlebars, and we want to be able to adjust the width, because depending on how flexible you are, how familiar you are with the position, and how much you weigh, and how tight you are across the chest, we might want to widen these bars or bring them in. Now, bringing them in certainly makes it more aerodynamic, but we don't want to close off your diaphragm so that you can't breathe, you can't drink, and you can't eat. So being able to clamp and then move this in and out is of major benefit. The other thing we want to be able to do is move the pad, because the pad, this is often referred to as the arm pad, and I believe that it should be called the elbow pad. This needs to be underneath your elbow to offer you skeletal support. All right, so the other thing I'm looking for, that I'm a huge fan of, is a ski bend extension. And the reason I like the ski bend extension is because it locks you into position. And later on we'll show you some aero bars, we'll go through the fit process, and we'll look at the difference between a ski bend extension and a straight or an S-bend extension, and what that means for aerodynamics and what it means for comfort through the forearm. So just to make things simple for you guys, you know, I've been fitting now for 5 years professionally, and there's only one type of aero bars or clip-on aero bar that I buy, and they're by Profile Design. They make a number of aero bars. The ones that I buy typically are the T1, T1 Plus, this one here, the T3 Plus, and the T4 Plus. And they all have the same features. They all have a ski bend. That's, I guess, what's unique about them. The bend is very different in the 3 models, but the adjustability is absolutely awesome. So one thing that you should be made aware of before you go and buy your road bike for triathlon, and we'll touch a bit more on frames and the suitability of particular bikes for triathlon, particular road bikes and time trial bikes, is if you're going to use a standard set of aero bars, standard set of clip-on aero bars, which is what I recommend, and again, these profile bars, they're just the best that I've ever come across. You need to have a standard handlebar. So these aero bars won't clamp on. You look here, this is an aerodynamic road bike handlebar. And some of the giant frames come with this type of handlebar. It's not this bar exactly, but this type of bar. The Giant Envy's one of them. And in order to get aero bars on there, clip-on aero bars, you have to, it's a special clamping mechanism. And what it does is it essentially puts the pad up here, and it makes it very, very difficult for you to get low and aerodynamic on your road bike. So even though these bikes are marketed as being aero road bikes, it becomes very, very difficult to get aerodynamic on them. So you may find, you know, it's just, again, it's a consideration before you buy a bike. But if you're going to put clip-on aero bars on a bike, you're probably going to want to purchase or make sure you have a standard set of handlebars, because this clamping mechanism will fit, and we can slide the bars, you know, either side of the stem so we can get the right sort of distance for your shoulders, and we can get you relatively low. Okay, so that's one of the major benefits of putting on aero bars. So as an example, going from a standard position, standard road position on your road bike to an aero position on your road bike, so that means putting on the clip-on aero bars, you can quite easily save 4 minutes an hour. So, and more if you're moving slowly. So in a Ironman triathlon, for example, I would say that the standard road position versus the road position with the clip-on aero bars, you could look to save 18 to 20 minutes. It's quite a considerable saving.